Joining us now, NBC News Washington correspondent Yamiche Alcindor, NBC News senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen, and NBC News senior political editor Mark Murray. So, Yamiche, it has been a crazy week. I know you know that because you've been on the road a ton already. How does the campaign plan to go from here? Again, this has been such a momentous outing, but heart can't beat this fast forever. What are they going to do next?
Well, they're hoping that the heart keeps beating this fast until November, at least, Katie, because what they're trying to do is really harness this energy and get people excited to not just sort of vote for Vice President Harris, but also knock on doors, go out in the field, get their friends, talk to people who maybe weren't interested in politics or who were turned off by Joe Biden and Donald Trump, those double haters that we spent so much time talking about. Now they're in this moment where they are really trying to capitalize on all of this energy and keep it going. And you can see that in both the fundraising, as you said, but also in the Zoom calls. There was that huge Zoom call that kicked all this off on Sunday with more than 45,000 people, most of them black women, on a Zoom call. They raised $1.5 million in 3 hours. The next day, black men had their call, something like 33,000 people. They raised more than $1 million. White women had their call yesterday, raising millions of dollars. So what the Harris campaign here is really trying to do is get ready for what will be a sort of short but really hard run here, because this is going to be an election, at least for now, that still looks like it's in the margin of errors. They're hoping to run up the numbers, and they're also hoping to sort of really lay out a path to victory that might look different, and it likely will look different from what President Biden was doing. Of course, she's going to be going to Georgia. Sources have been telling me Georgia, North Carolina, critical states to mobilize Southern black voters, along with, of course, the Midwest states and the West and Arizona and other places. So a lot of work to do, and they're going to try to do it fast, Katie.
Yamiche, you're talking about Georgia and North Carolina. The traditional suggestions and strategy has been focus on the upper Midwest, focus on Michigan, focus on Pennsylvania, focus on Wisconsin. Are they suggesting to you that they're going to spend more time in Georgia and North Carolina?
What I'm hearing from really Harris allies, I think the campaign is still trying to lay it out. I don't think that they're discounting the Midwest by any means. Her first rally that I went to, which was right outside Milwaukee, it was the biggest campaign event from the Biden-Harris, of course, now Harris campaign had held ever. So there were a number of people there, and she was really going after Donald Trump just a few days after the RNC was in Wisconsin. So they're definitely still looking at the Midwest, but Georgia and North Carolina, if they think feels more in play to them, is what I've been hearing from campaign aides and also from sources close to the vice president. So I think they were really trying to do that. And I will say, I was in Indianapolis also with her this week, and she spoke to Zeta Phi Beta. It's a historically African-American sorority. She's part of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and a part of the Divine Nine, this group of African-American sororities and fraternities. That's going to be key, because they're people who are going to go out and do the work of grabbing people and gathering people to take them to the polls. So that's the thinking there, is really leaning into her base while also trying to welcome other people in. You see Republicans and others releasing endorsements that we could talk about. But the idea is that she's going to have her coalition, but also really lean in to the people that are most loyal, which, of course, are black women in the Democratic Party.
So, Mark, I know we're getting numbers in every day, and we're still waiting on, good polling from outside of this, we're going to say it again, honeymoon moment, and also after Donald Trump's assassination attempt and the RNC. But take us inside the numbers. What are they telling us? Just beyond the top line numbers, what's the underlying stuff telling us?
Let's do all the above, Katie. And on the top line numbers, you do see a sense that Harris's has improved, certainly since the Trump assassination period and the Republican convention and that really rough debate for Joe Biden. And so even in the New York Times Siena poll, where Joe Biden had a 6-point deficit among likely voters, that's now just a 1-point deficit for Harris, well within the poll's margin of error. And we've seen that replicated elsewhere. But then, Katie, inside those numbers, what I actually find fascinating, in particular in that New York Times Siena poll, there is a really big gender gap. Harris is doing incredibly well with female voters. On the other hand, Donald Trump is doing really well with men. Also, we are seeing, and kind of what Yamiche was pointing out to, that Harris is still struggling a little bit in the Midwest. And of course, when we end up having these kind of crosstab or demographic breakdowns in polls, you got to realize there's was a very large margin of error, but at least in the New York Times Siena poll, Harris was doing much better in the West and the Northeast than she was in the Midwest and in the South. And so it's important to kind of note, we need to see more polls. But right now that shows someone whose path, as you and Yamiche were just discussing, might be better in the Sun Belt in states like Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona, as opposed to the Wisconsins, the Pennsylvanias, or the Michigans. But Katie, it's still really, really early. The Midwest is incredibly valuable. And as any Democrat would know, you would want to do well both in those Midwest, Rust Belt states, as well as in the Sun Belt.
All right, John, for all the attention that Kamala Harris is garnering and so much attention on social media, so much enthusiasm, there seems to be an equal wave of negativity surrounding J.D. Vance in particular. He's been everywhere. The Harris campaign is going after him specifically, and they're doing it pretty strongly. There's also just new audio that has been resurfaced where he's talking about abortions and what could happen if Roe v. Wade was overturned. It was. And if abortions were banned in the state of Ohio, and then women found themselves going to other states. Here's what this audio that was surfaced. Here's him seeming to describe a situation that he would be against. Listen.
Okay, look, here's the situation. Let's say Roe versus Wade is overruled. Ohio bans abortion, in 2022 or let's say 2024. And then, every day, George Soros sends a 747 to Columbus to load up disproportionately black women to get them to go have abortions in California. And of course, the left will celebrate this as a victory for diversity. That's kind of creepy,
health justice is when we exterminate working class black people.
Something like that could. I mean, that would be a really weird turn of events that could happen.
Yeah.
Yes,
and it's like, if that happens, do you need some federal response to prevent it from happening? Because it's really creepy. And I'm pretty sympathetic to that, actually.
So this is the podcast, Very Fine People. It was recorded in 2022 before Roe v. Wade was overturned. He was projecting forward, John. And at the end there, what he seems to be endorsing is that the federal government get involved to keep women from traveling.
Yeah, Katie, I mean, it's ironic that he used the words really creepy as he was talking there, because what he is suggesting there, the whole set of things there is certainly odd. It's almost like Donald Trump got in a time machine to pick a vice presidential candidate. Obviously, this is not something he's promoting today. It's something that he would prefer is not being replayed right now, something that the Trump campaign would prefer that he hadn't said at the time. And at the same time, Katie, we are watching what happens when candidates get on the national stage for the first time. There's a vet. I was talking to a Republican strategist earlier today who said the first rule of being a vice presidential candidate is do no harm. And J.D. Vance has been violating that, of course, in this case and with some of the others with things that he had said previously, but he's done nothing to clean it up. It's, there are these sort of odd conversations that he's been in the past with, sort of very, I think problematic politically points of view and ones that are extremely, extremely conservative and outside the mainstream.